So everyone, this is Carmela. I'm training, I don't know how you train, but on open space technology with Harrison Owen, the guru himself, although he wouldn't call himself that. And I remember just being amazed with this woman, just like whenever we were in sessions, she would be writing things up in really beautiful script and just just on the ball all the time. So I made facilitative practice a way of my leadership. This woman is a professional facilitator. She gets hired by big companies, big firms, big NGOs, big multilaterals, people like that, to facilitate their processes. That's her job. If she doesn't like the task, she'll just say no. Right, Carmela? She can choose and pick who she wants to facilitate and what she wants to facilitate. And when we did the 900 over people in Medan with the roundtable on sustainable palm oil, she was one of the key facilitators. So I'm not like hyping you up, Carmela. I'm just saying what my experiences of her. So over to you, Carmela.
Actually, last night I watched Mr. Doolittle, the more recent one. Who is this guy? The Iron Man? What's his name?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes. So last night I watched that, and it dawned on me this morning that what we are doing as facilitators is similar to that somehow, because the cast of characters in Mr. Doolittle are so diverse. You know, you have a duck and and a gorilla, but somehow, you know, and the stick. I really like the stick because I like the disguise of the stick, right? And actually, all of them understand each other, even if they're so diverse. Human, animal, and then, you know, the dragon later on. So it's so strange. It's so strange why they understand each other. So I started reflecting on the Mr. Doolittle in the context of my conversation with all of you. So I think it's like that with us humans. We are so diverse, and it's so hard to bring us together to come to a point of shared understanding and shared meaning, shared values, shared direction, shared vision, shared goals. And that's where, please allow me to share screen. I'll just briefly share with you. And I can't discuss it lengthily. So actually, this is a framework developed by, I have to honor the author, Sam Kanner. I attended his facilitation skills training in San Francisco, and I visited Cindy too, or we met in her house and went to a restaurant. That was the time. Yes, I was actually attending an advanced facilitation course by also the author of the book Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making. The author is Sam Kanner. And this is the framework they developed, which is very, very powerful, I think. So what this just says is that sometimes we are just in the business as usual zone. What is the business as usual zone? So you have to make decisions on something or discuss a problem, and then try to understand the problem. And sometimes you come up with solutions or proposals, but these are not sustainable. The results are you come up with agreements, but the agreements are not sustainable. or the solutions are not sustainable. So that's usually the business as usual. And last year when I was speaking to you, right, I was saying that you can have a very good facilitated event, a workshop, a consultation, but nothing happened after that. So some participants followed through the agreements and many did not, that's very common. Or there were so many hitches along the way after the workshop, and then you're back to square one. So that's business as usual. And I really like what they developed. So usually at the beginning of a discussion, there's the divergent zone. And when opinions, views diverge, a lot of us have varied views about whatever the topic is. And then we want to see convergence, right? We want to see convergence. And so there's that in between, which is called the groan zone. Because you cannot jump from divergence to convergence. That's what I have learned over the past years. There's no such thing as a shortcut, that once everybody has shared their thoughts, their views, and then you can easily converge and say, oh, wow, we have different thoughts, we have different ideas. This is the best idea for me. That's the best idea for you. This is the best solution for you. Okay, let's agree. It's not that easy. We all know that from our families. Even we argue with our own sisters, our own mother and father. Human, by being humans, there's always that groan zone, no? So the groan zone is the experience of groups where you are actually, grinding your teeth, you are mulling over something for so long, you are emotional, some are angry. This is the most difficult part in many conversations, the groan zone. So how do you cross the groan zone to reach the convergent zone, wherein you will have more sustainable solutions to problems, or you are able to build a shared framework of understanding of what's really happening and what will be the best way forward. So there will be no shortcuts. If there are shortcuts, that's when we experience failures in the implementation of agreements, for example. So the main objective of this groan zone is to help the group develop a shared framework of understanding. I had a very recent experience about this groan zone, a development project dealing with cacao. So cacao that we put in our hot chocolate, no? So the project is targeting, if I recall correctly, 150,000 or 100,000 cacao farmers, that they will be increase their income and productivity, of course, and that eventually they will be certified, no? The organic cacao or whatever certification that was. And so the two-part project partners were in the groan zone for not just in the meeting or in the workshop, for a very long time. It seemed that since the inception of this project, they were stuck in the groan zone. They were not moving forward. There were so many issues and they were not understanding each other. And this was also experienced in another project, which was a coconut project. Cacao, and the other one is cocoa. Now, with these two projects, what did I do? Because they were in the groan zone, they were going in circles. You know what I mean? They achieve something and then they disagree, and then really, I cannot tell you the details, but it was so heavy whenever I had meetings with them. When I facilitated their work things, I want to open that one here. So what I did, tell me if you cannot see, I'll also make it bigger here. Can you see the columns?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things I let the two project partners do is to list the gray areas in their project. So partner one listed independently of each other. So partner one listed the gray areas. What topics in the project are not clear for them, or they think there is no shared understanding? So for example, and this is already the consolidated sheet. So what I did after they listed the gray areas, so project partner one listed a gray area. So they had their own long list, and then project partner two had their own long list. And then I let them submit it, and then I put it together in this consolidated sheet. So one gray area that they identified was the selection of beneficiaries, for example. No? So what has been this, and if you look at the topics at the top, you have great topics on column C, and then in column D, what has been decided, if any, about this in the past. So this project has been going on for, this is the, I think this is the COCO. So this project has been going on for more than a year, and yet the selection of beneficiaries is still a gray area. No, you could imagine, no? They've been together for more than a year, and yet the parties actually did not agree yet on who should be the beneficiary. So what has been decided, what we understand and what is clear for us, and then what is unclear that needs discussion and agreement. So this is the groan zone. What is unclear, needs discussion and agreement, is part of the groan zone. So there is no shortcut between divergence and then jump to convergence. You cannot do the shortcut, because all the things that are still gray areas, all the things that are unclear, that need discussion, that need agreement, have really to be threshed out. And you need to sit down, because then project partners will be going around in circles, and then the same issues will crop up at different periods or points as the project progresses over several months or years. And then here in the last column, what are the implications, the possible effects or the results if we do not jointly agree on this? So we did this process with the group, and it was very, you know, there were many aha moments, because groups, participants in a group always assume that they have a shared understanding. You know, you say, this is what you said in the last meeting. And then they will also say, this is also what you said in the last meeting. And then when you ask them, what do you understand of what I said? And what do you, the other person will also, and then you realize they have a different understanding of things. So the groan zone, if you don't skip the groan zone, you have a better chance of building a shared understanding among the dialogue partners. So I found this tool very powerful. So I've used this also in another project, and it really helps them thresh out this listing of gray topics or gray areas. There's another one that I want to bring your attention with respect to why the groan zone is very difficult. And one of the things that I have done is recently, are you familiar with the delegation poker game?
No.
Okay, so let me walk you through what's the delegation poker. There are 7 ways to delegate decision making, no? One way to delegate decision making is tell. The manager tells the team what she has decided. There is no input from the team whatsoever. The manager decides and then just informs the team. So maybe if Cindy is the manager, she will just say, with regards to this matter, I have decided, implement this. So no input from the team whatsoever. That's tell. The other one is sell. The manager decides first, and then she lets the team know to persuade them. Still no input from the team. The role of the manager is just to persuade the team. The next type of delegation is consult. The manager decides only after gathering the team's input. So input from the team first, and then the manager decides. That's consult. The fourth style of delegating decision-making is to agree. We will agree together, consensus. Team and manager discusses and then decides together. The fifth one is advice. The team decides only after gathering the manager's input. So this one is called advice because the team is the one who decides. So I was just saying that in selling, it's opposite to inquire, because in selling, the manager decides and persuades the team. In inquire, the team decides and persuades the manager. And then the last is the manager fully delegates everything to the team. The team will just tell the manager what they have decided, and no input, no participation for the manager. So why am I sharing with you this delegation poker? I think I used this last December or November. We did this exercise with a team. There were, I think, about 20 plus of them. There were some situations. So let me just share with you the situation. Let me show you the situations. Hang on. So the situations are pretty easy. They were not that complicated, the first one. And then the other situations were more complicated. So this was a Christmas party, decision making. So there's a Christmas party for the project, for example, LEAP. There's also the bigger LEAP year-end party. Those are 3 year-end celebrations. So some of the project teams were uncomfortable. Should we have 3 year-end parties? Why don't we have just 1 year-end party? It's too many parties at the end of the year. So we subjected this to the delegation poker, because this is a seemingly simple situation where there is a groan zone. Now, how do you play the delegation poker? These are the names of the participants or the team members. Each team member should decide whether the mode of decision-making is tell, sell, consult, agree, advise, inquire, or delegate. So for that situation on the year-end party, each one had to put a star on what type of delegation of decision-making should be done. So you see, these are the results. These are real results. I just removed the names of the persons so you will not see them. These are real results. Some of them think that it should be consult, while majority think that it should be agree. And then 2 persons think that it should be advise. And 1 person thinks that it should be inquire. Imagine if these stars were so spread up, imagine, no? Let me give you a different scenario. So what if the stars were spread apart all over the 7 modes of delegation of decision making? So when that situation happens, you will see many people have different views as to how the decision has to be made. That is a groan zone. In this situation, we asked them, so this was the process, the responses below. We asked them, why do you think it should be consult? Meaning, in consult, the manager decides and then, but first gets input from the team. So they gave the reasons why it should be consult. And then those who selected agree. Everybody should agree. Everybody, include cleaner, the office cleaner, the admin, the finance, the project teams, the managers, everybody should sit and discuss and plan for this year-end party. So there were reasons why, And then some people said advice, meaning when you say advice, input from the manager first, and then the team decides. It's the team who will decide, not the manager. And then the others say it should be inquire. The team should decide and just persuade the manager. So can you imagine? Members of one team have different perspectives as to how the decision has to be made. To what extent people have to be involved. So you can do this delegation poker in different situations and different scenarios, and you will come up with a spread of choices as to how the decision has to be made. So this can be one of the reasons why there is a groan zone, because there are different perspectives as to what extent a person should be involved in the decision making, to what extent should they give an input, to what extent should they, to how many hours should they spend sitting on this. In this situation of Christmas party, I will tell you, it was quite interesting because the manager said, you know, I'm not so keen about Christmas parties. I don't want to be involved in the decision making on this. That's what the manager said. And of course, the Filipinos said that for us, because Filipinos are a majority Christians, Christmas party is so important for us. This is a big event for us. I think everybody should sit down and discuss this. And then some people said that actually there's no need to consult everybody. We will just have to you know, get the ideas, and then the manager should decide. So, but the manager said, I don't want to decide this because it's not important for me. This is quite simple, no? Maybe. But you see, this could take a lot of time and energy of everybody deciding on these multiple parties and whether to have multiple parties. And, you know, it may sound so simple as a situation, but this is really a very concrete example of how the groan zone can also be affected by our different perspectives of how decisions should be delegated, how decisions should be made. I think I've talked a lot already. I've shared with you three things. The groan zone. Earlier, I shared with you the tool, the gray areas, and then the delegation poker. I stop here because I still have one more thing to share, which I think is very powerful, so that I can take in questions. And you can also share your views, your experiences, what resonates with you. Okay, I'm quiet now.
Thanks, Carms. Everybody understands ka na ito term groan complaint zone. It's basically like zone complaint, zone bising. We know that kan in Sabah. Sometimes we live in a groan zone and doesn't go anywhere.
A facilitator, even if this is an issue between Cindy and me, I think we can facilitate a process wherein participants can express how they are affected by that situation. Let me then, this is a very good example of the next tool that I want to share with you, which is the third and the last that I want to share with you because we have limited time. This is the energy mapping tool that I used recently. There are two types of energies, of situations that increase the energy of the team. So you can think of situations that increase the energy of the team. There are many, no? Maybe when you're having parties, it increases. Maybe when somebody is asking you, how are you, caring for your personal needs and also your well-being, maybe that increases energy. Maybe when the finance team is very fast in processing your cash advance request, maybe it increases the energy of the team. So the other type of situations are situations that decreases the energy of the team, right? So it could be that the central office or the finance and the admin, their processes are not flexible. They don't understand that when we are in the field, we cannot get official receipts, you know, or
they're laughing here.
yeah, you just bought the water in a small store at the corner, and who has official receipts in a small store, you know? And they're so, you know, maybe the central office is so rigid in their processes that might decrease the energy of the team. This is an example of an actual output last December or November. So this team did the energy mapping. So I'll just walk you through what are in the energy mapping, because the situation that was shared earlier about the dynamics, interpersonal conflicts. Interpersonal conflicts can also decrease the energy of the team, or harmonious relationship could increase the energy of the team. So how can you use this tool? So you have to make a list of the situations that increase or decrease the energy of the team. Then you analyze it. So for the situations that increase the energy of the team, what are the factors, the people, the constellations, the dynamics that add energy with respect to the situation, no? So in this case, the situation was support of colleagues when they are explaining the necessary procedures in the organization. This increases the energy of the team. So you analyze this. What are the factors, the people, the constellations, the dynamics that add energy with respect to that situation? What is the impact and the end result? No, so these are examples. No, the regular admin support in explaining this, a smooth turnover of documents for financial reporting. That's the impact and the end result. Is this positive impact and end result transferable to other situations and contexts? Yes, it is. It can actually improve staff work and efficient to make them more efficient and productive, no? And then what can the team do to sustain this positive situation that increases the energy, this supporting each other, explaining processes, etc. So we need more reorientation, refresher from the admin, cross-cutting admin exchanges across about admin matters, etc. So this is an example of the increased energy. So how do you analyze the situation that decreases the energy of the team? So for example, the interpersonal conflicts, no? Maybe that's what is here. So what are the factors, the people, the constellations, and the dynamics that take away energy from the team? What's the of the admin finance staff? It results, the factors that somehow influence this situation are poor project planning, changes in policies and restrictions due to the pandemic, changes in the project partner schedule beyond the project's control, no? And then the admin staff feel exhausted because of time pressure, etc. So what's the result of this? The staff feel overwhelmed with responsibilities. The activities are delayed, both from the staff side and that of the project partners, and the farmers are affected. Low productivity of the team, and there is miscommunication. So is this just a one-time occurrence? Will this likely occur again? Generally recurring, especially during the pandemic. What can the team do to avoid, minimize, or deal with this situation constructively? So we use this in one team. They listed all the things that increase the team's energy and decreases the team's energy, and then we analyzed it regarding interpersonal conflicts. If interpersonal conflicts decrease the energy of the team, I think this is a subject that you could discuss as a team, because then you could analyze, you could use this tool, this energy mapping tool, or you could use other tools that can help you understand this groan zone. That's part of your groan zone, the interpersonal conflicts, because it doesn't add value to your work. It doesn't help you move forwards in a more smooth, no, process because of these interpersonal conflicts.
I know you're a lifelong facilitator, and you facilitate processes with many, many groups. and also around the world. Why have you made this your life's work? Why do you think it's an important methodology for change?
Ooh. Actually, the why, I will be a hypocrite if I will say that it doesn't offer me uh, benefits in terms of positive things that help me grow. It's not just like a very rosy ideal answer like I want to save the world or something like that. Because I'm here because I'm growing. I'm growing personally and even spiritually, I should say. Um, by meeting different persons around the world and listening to their woes, to their successes, projects, because most of these are in the context of projects, no, or organizations. I I I also get a lot of inspiration myself, and I get a lot of learning. I'll give you an example. Recently, I facilitated the strategic planning of one of the biggest universities in Mindanao, here in Philippines, in the south. So the Philippines is divided into three major group of islands. So in the north, you have Luzon. In the middle, Visayas, that's where I am. And then in the south, that's Mindanao, which is the greater, a lot of people there is the Muslim Mindanao also. And one of the universities there invited me to walk with them, journey with them in their strategic planning for this year, because they have 15-year strategic plan which ends in 2021, and they made another 10-year strategic plan. And I just learned that, by helping other people in their journey, for example, in that strategic plan, I'm able to help people put together what we have, including myself, no, our thoughts, our visions, our dreams for the university, for the students, for the sector, for the academic sector, for the Philippines, and because their vision is including the ASEAN and beyond. So I'm helping bring together people who can envision a world that is inclusive, uh, that is helping those who are vulnerable communities. And by doing so, I am also helping myself grow in the values that I want to nurture in myself. Like, for example, compassion. I think the world needs a lot of compassion. And my work is helping me point the flashlight, beam, shine the light on certain issues and topics that need the attention of different groups and people. And that's what I see my role is now. Maybe one is to increase the compassion in the world, and also to increase wisdom. Like now, we have a big problem, climate change. And I just watched, by the way, the movie Don't Look Up. Who has watched the movie of Leonardo DiCaprio, Don't Look Up? So there are people who will shout, "Don't look up." And there are people who will say, "Look up, look up." And on whose side are you? So I think facilitation gives you the opportunity. While we say we are neutral, but actually you can be multi-partial. You are there giving a voice to those who will say, "Don't look up." And then you're also giving a voice to those who will say, "Look up." But at the end of the day, for me as a facilitator, I also need to take sides to know where I stand on issues. Maybe when I facilitate, I am neutral, but I could also be multi-partial. Because by being multi-partial, I give everybody the fair chance to give voice to their own perspectives and their views. And maybe in that way, I can increase compassion because I will allow people to be heard, to be listened to. But I know it's difficult. In the movie, for those who watch it and for those who have not watched it, I think it's a good movie to watch. Aside from Mr. Doolittle or Dr. Doolittle. It's difficult when you're a facilitator because you know you also have your own values and you have your own advocacies. So though you might, some persons might tell me Carmela is already biased because we know in her Facebook posts that she is also, advocating for governments to address climate change. Yet I'm facilitating in the group on the topic of climate change, and maybe there are those who don't agree with this approach and that approach. You should just be aware of that you have your own, I have my own biases already, or my own position when it comes to certain issues. So going back to the question of Cindy, I don't know, facilitation has given me an opportunity to practice compassion, I think, and to help people be more compassionate. It's not easy. It's not easy. I tell you. It's not easy because sometimes I am also judged as not impartial, but even if I try my best. But second, also, you will always meet persons who don't want you to perform your role as a facilitator because they want to dictate you how you want to facilitate. I've experienced that with an undersecretary in the ministry, and maybe I offended him, but I have to stand firm on my role that I have to give people the chance to speak and that I should not follow his order how I should facilitate, no? But yeah, for as long as people still trust me, one thing I want to share with you before I wrap up, trust is very important. If a client doesn't trust me, they will not hire me. So if they trust that I can journey with them through the process, then fine, no? I'm glad and I'll be happy to serve. And I think trust is important, no? And I will, the client trusts that I can help them. I don't know if I'll shift careers when I grow much older, but because some people also change their career when they're in their 50s, or even after retirement, they did other things, no? But you could really help in this job. That's my experience, no? To help people come together and then to resolve issues, or to give voice to what needs to be heard in this world, and then to increase compassion. I think that the last one is the most important one. In the suffering world, we need a lot of compassion.
Thank you, Carm. So I'm just remembering that we've worked together at least 3 times. One was the Southeast Asia Renewable Energy People's Assembly that you helped us co-facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a Sumatran Rhino Crisis Summit in Singapore.
Yes.
And then there was the RSPO Roundtable in Medan.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 3 we've worked on, right?
Yes. Yes.
Any reflections? Any reflections from those moments, Harms?
Oh, for me,
Meta,
you're asking me.
meta reflections.
Yeah. With regards to the palm oil, this is very, very controversial until now. Because our problem with biodiversity is so big. Climate change and the topic on biodiversity is so closely related. Last year, or the other year, I facilitated the networking workshop of the International Climate Initiative, which was largely funded by the Germans also, and they get funding also from others. And so all the organizations that are involved here in the funded by the International Climate Initiative were there, the big organizations like OECD, WWF, and all those. And I think the issue on biodiversity is such, the biodiversity loss is so great. I mean, I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio in the Look Up movie shouting in the when he was interviewed on TV, like, how can we make people hear and listen that we cannot thrive when biodiversity loss is just continuing? This one makes me cry. The call for renewable energy, for example. We just had typhoon, a big typhoon here. In fact, I'm staying in a hotel because the lifeline services are not yet back. Not all areas of the Philippines affected by Typhoon Odette has their electricity, their internet connection, and water back. So the issue of increasing intensity or of typhoons is real, and the impact on humanity is very much felt in countries like the Philippines. And so many people are still suffering now, adding to the fact that the pandemic is really hard on so many people who lost their jobs or maybe have less income. And there is an increase, there is a surge in the national capital region in the Philippines, in Manila, and the COVID cases are increasing here, also in Cebu, which is a Typhoon Rai or Odette affected province, and so many other provinces were affected by the recent typhoon. So the issue of climate change, biodiversity loss are real issues, but I don't know how our decision makers and leaders and business people are taking this, because this is not a problem which is just in one place or one group of people will experience it. Sorry. Your work is very important. Your work in for example, increasing biodiversity in here in the Philippines. We should have done green belt, coastal green belts a long time ago, because they help also in lessening the impact of surge, or when there is a surge, a lot of people are affected when there are tropical cyclones. And so if there is a coastal green belt along all the coasts of countries, no, who are very vulnerable to surges or tsunamis, that will really help a lot. And so we should not be converting our mangroves. If we are cutting our mangroves and converting them into all fish ponds or whatever, the impact on communities will be really, really strong, which we have experienced now in the recent typhoon. So we need, for example, coastal green belts. We need the forests. Since the pandemic in August last year, my husband and I have been doing a lot of trekking in the mountains here in Cebu City because it's safer to do the trek where there are very few people than going to the mall or to the parks because of COVID-19. And I have really appreciated how beautiful it is to walk in the mountains with a lot of trees. We do it almost every other week. Twice a month, we do trekking. And then we go to some rivers when there are rivers and waterfalls. I never imagined that just here in Cebu City, there are very beautiful waterfalls, which I have not realized before, and I'm already 55 years old. I grew up here and I was born here, and only because of the pandemic, I did a lot of trekking. And then I realized, wow, how beautiful it is here in the mountains, in the place where I was born and where I grew up. And I've never done that before. It's only the pandemic that made me do it. So I think we should go back to ourselves and ask ourselves, what is important? What is really, really, really important? And in your work there, in your work in Sabah, with LEAP, what is really important in your work? How does your work contribute not just for yourself, but for the children, the unborn, those who are not yet here? Because at the end of the day, we will be living, and everything that we do, they will inherit. That's it, since.
Thank you, Carmela. Thank you for sharing your heart, as you always do. Thank you for joining us this morning. I think the group here is holding you in your grief. So let's stand up, everyone. I hope the camera will catch it. And let's give some love to Carmela. Yay. And lots of love, Carm. Can you see us?
Group hug. Group hug. Group hug.
Hug.
Yes,
Can you see us?
Group hug.
I can see.
What happens in the Groan zone if you find there are personal differences with people? Do you have to resolve them first to then come to a convergence? Or do you let personal issues sort of rest to one side? Like if you have conflicts between certain people in the room.
Yes, and conflicts are personal, right? Or like,
Yeah, not so much organizational, but like where there's a personal issue.
This is my personal view on that. I mean, you might look at it and respond to it in a different way. If interpersonal issues surface in the discussion, the group has to actually decide whether this has to be tackled by the group or bilaterally between the two persons, or if it's three or whoever who are involved on their own. As a facilitator, it's not, I'm just a midwife, you know. I am giving birth to ideas. I'm helping people give birth rather to their ideas, to their opinions, solutions. I'm not the one to decide. But when this comes out as one of the concerns, the group you can facilitate that the group decides whether this should be addressed together with the manager, or they should deal with this on their own. But if this issue affects the work of the others, and this becomes a collective issue, you know what I mean? If Cindy and I work together, and Cindy and I are always fighting because we have different personalities, or we have jealousy towards each other, or whatever, work of everybody, in that sense, it becomes a collective issue. And me as a facilitator, even if this is an issue between Cindy and me, I think we can facilitate a process wherein participants can express how they are affected by that situation.
I am the head of the jurisdictional certification for the RSPO for Sabah.
Mm.
Yeah, so you can understand the energy that I have to have in order to do this job. So,
It's forever in a groan zone.
forever in the grown zone. Yeah. Yeah. And like what I said yesterday, I'm lonely. I'm the lonely boy. Just that I would like to hear your experience, to share your experience in a grown zone. Meaning to say, how do you maintain your energy in the grown zone?
How do you maintain, come again? There was
How do you maintain your energy? You know, when you are always in the grown zone, you will always have this negative energy surrounding you. How do you maintain to be positive, or to be not to be influenced by the negative energy around you?
So, Carmela, just to unpack a little bit, the committee that he reports to is 1/3 civil society, 1/3 government, and 1/3 private sector. And the vision is to get Sabah fully RSPO certified by 2025.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, there are so many roundtables or containers. So you could also call that a container, no? Where multiple stakeholders sit, and the dynamics is really challenging to manage. And
yes,
there is what you call as contagion, no? Negativity can be very contagious, and we are experiencing that in the era of the internet, that there's a lot of bashing online, right? And also sharing of fake news, revisionism, and all these things. The internet has amplified what we experience in the face-to-face, and even so more. But anyway, since we are talking about mostly face-to-face interface, but actually even online interaction already now makes contagion even more worse, because before we are just dealing with dynamics in the face-to-face interaction, but now we have to deal with dynamics offline and online. And the contagion can be very strong, that there is negativity in some sectors or some parties who are involved, for example, in your roundtable there, in your project. And it can easily derail processes. So your question is, how can we maintain the energy? Actually, you should ask that to those who are sitting in the round table. You know why? Why am I saying that? And I go back to the energy mapping. because they are the ones who know. They're the ones who know what keeps them going, and then what brings them down. So when you have an idea, as a facilitator, when you have an idea, what are these situations that increase energy of the group? What are these situations that take away the energy of the group? And what are the factors, no, that contribute to this? If there is that understanding, then I think it will help your team, the multi-stakeholder body, to also look into these aspects of the group. How to maintain the energy is something that the group has to look into. I mean, I can give you my ideas, but I'm not sure it will help. But maybe some will help, because that's the very reason why groups go into a retreat. For example, they go on a retreat, they go on reflection sessions, sharing of lessons learned. I have facilitated a number of lessons learned sharing sessions, because these are attempts. I always say attempts because we are not sure if they will be successful. To actually look within, and then to find out what's really bugging us, or what's helping us, what is keeping our energy up, and what's bringing us down. So I don't know what processes you are doing with your group that is involved in this RSPO certification process, but groups are like human beings. We need, if the volcano needs vents, so every now and then, or else it will keep on erupting. We also need those spaces. Groups need spaces for them to be able to look back and step back. Where are we now? What's happening to us? No? Is our energy this level? Is our energy high? Is our energy low? Are there a lot of contagion happening between groups or individuals that sit in this round table? Contagion of negativity or positivity. So you need that space to look into that. You can't just always put on the agenda topics related to the project. There has to be, there's the task-oriented and the relationship-oriented activities, because not everything has to be task-oriented, that you will not survive. You will need the spaces to let to let your hair down, or to let people speak up about other things, like how they feel, or what's bugging them, or what's helping us. You need those spaces. Groups are really like us humans. We need to rest, we need to reflect, we need to do yoga, meditation. Yeah, I don't want to be prescriptive, but what I'm just saying is that if you will give your group, this multi-stakeholder body, the space also to discuss other things, not just the task-related things, like how are we, how are we relating to each other? Maybe that will help. At the end of the day, we are all humans. Our work is just one part of our being who we are. And it's the energy. It's how the energy is experienced by people that actually matters, no? At the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know if I helped you, but I really think that you should give space and time to have some sessions with the roundtable to tackle topics that are not directly related to tasks or project items.